Hi, Bob. Bob, I want to talk to you about something which I think may be a very a story that may be of interest even nationally, and that has to do with these plane crashes in the last week. Well, it was actually only one plane crash. The second one was an incident where one engine was knocked out at Newark Airport about 4 days ago. Have you heard of that?
Well, yeah. What is it you'd like to say about it, though?
I'd like to say that I think that the airlines, I wonder if the airlines are influencing the media to somehow to stay away from certain issues that are involving.
No, they're not. First of all, if the media were to if the airlines were to do that, the media would be exposing it like there was no tomorrow. Well, so I assure you, Tom, the airlines put no pressure on the media.
I don't even know what I said yet. I haven't even said why I'm accusing them yet, and you're cutting me off.
Well, I'm not cutting you off. I'm interjecting here because what you're saying is absurd.
Well, the airlines are heavy advertisers in the media and in the newspapers.
The guy wants to believe what he wants to believe.
Let me say what I'm accusing them first of. Now, the incident in Colorado Springs was in the Post. There was an article in the Post.
Been on every television network over and over. As a matter of fact, there was a story in the Times today about it.
Right.
Concerning the strange wind gusts, wind shear, isn't it?
What they didn't say in the Times article today, that there was a discovery of bird feathers stuck on the wing of the plane, and now they've discounted. The investigators have already discounted that. That was in another Times article. They're so quick to say, the investigators are so quick to discount the plane being knocked down by birds. And then in Newark, of course, they couldn't sweep the Newark plane incident where it knocked down an engine under the carpet. That was a bird strike that knocked out that engine. And I've called up I live in the flight path of the jets from Kennedy Airport that go right over the Jamaica Bay Wildlife Preserve, and I'm worried about my safety, not only the safety of the passengers. It goes right through thousands of gulls every day. They couldn't care less. They have an active landfill in Edgemere.
Well, are you worried about the gulls, the passengers in the plane, or yourself?
Well, both. Well, I mean, if a 747 goes down...
What do you want me to do, go out and poison all those birds so that you can sleep better tonight?
No, Bob. I just want you... I think that the media is caving in to pressure from the airlines.
Let me tell you something, Tom. You didn't like the fact that you said I was commenting before you had a chance to finish what you had to say. But it's interesting that now that you have finished what you had to say, you proved that I was right all along. You are accusing the media of entering into a conspiracy to not tell what we should tell about airline crashes. Tom, you're a sick little fink, not even worthy of any more of my time. And I don't like when I tell somebody something and they persist in believing their own paranoia. Get off my phone!
Hello?
Hello, Leon.
Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me, the brave Arab terrorists who murder Jewish women at bus stops, how brave they are. And yet they can't win one war against Israel. They've lost 4 wars against Israel now, 1 against America, and they come crawling out of their foxholes like the cowards that they are whenever they have to face a real battle against real men. I say to them,
the Chach Party, hooray for the Chach Party. Mike.
Right. There is something that you constantly refer to, which bothers me quite a bit, and it's your reference to Martin Luther King as a bum and a jerk. I just think that's below you, and it's below the program, and it's...
Well, you know what would be below me? For me to be dishonest and pretend that I didn't feel that way. That would be below me.
Well, I understand that.
And if it upsets your sensitivity, don't listen to the program, because I'm going to continue calling him a bum and a jerk, because I believe he was a bum and a jerk, and I think it's a disgrace, an outrage that we have a national day in honor of this jerk.
Well, I think it's a divisive way of approaching
Look, I'm not intending to be divisive, jerk. I'm giving my opinion.
Why are you calling me a jerk?
Because you are a jerk. Because you are a jerk when you start accusing me of being divisive.
I didn't.
Too bad if it's divisive. I'm sorry, but it happens to be my honest belief.
Based on?
Based on the man's life, based on the fact that he was a plagiarist, based on the fact that he was a womanizer, based on the fact that along came the United States government and for some strange reason decided to vote to name a national day in his honor, even though most of the people who voted that way didn't really think they should do that. Based on the fact that his record had to be sealed for 75 years, we ought to be able to know who this great hero is. We ought to know all about him. What has to be kept secret? Thank you for the call, jerk.
Hello, Mr. Grant, Bob.
Yes, Jack.
Hi. I have a special problem in that I own a real estate appraisal company, which was taken over by criminals and used for corrupt mortgage purposes. Now, I got a great frustration. I went
through... wait a minute. Stop right there.
Okay.
How did they take it over?
Well, I had a heart attack, and I left the business to my manager to run for approximately 6 months.
And your manager is a, what, a criminal? A gangster? What is your manager?
Well, the story I got from the co-conspirators, he was called in, they gave him a bribe, and eventually they took over my whole business, 9 employees.
Well, if they did that, then why didn't you go to the district attorney out there in Queens?
I did.
And what happened?
Nothing. They wouldn't back me up. I had an embezzlement, I also found out after 6 months. The bookkeeper embezzled $40,000, and I ran into corruption there.
He embezzled? Then
she embezzled.
She embezzled that much? Well, then I'm sure she's being prosecuted.
No, they dropped arbitrarily.
Isn't that interesting? All these people accuse all these terrible things, and nobody's being prosecuted. Maybe you're mistaken.
No, I have conclusive proof of that.
Conclusive proof. Well, then these guys should be indicted.
They're not. I can't get any place. The corruption is so great. I mean, I've been to the FBI with, they don't even want to see my evidence.
You know what? I don't blame them because you're probably a fake, a phony, a fraud, and a very sick man. And I'll tell you why I say that.
Yeah.
Whenever anybody calls making these claims and says he's got proof and nothing is happening, that tells me he's leaving something out.
No, if you ask me what I'm leaving out, I'll be glad to, straighten it out for you.
You don't have to. You don't have to. I'm not an authority. I don't have a division of the law here.
Well, I mean, I'm asking if you might. I can't get a lawyer. No,
well, what do you want me to do? You want to give me a machine gun? I'll go there and shoot them all. What do you want me to do?
No, well, tell me what I should do. I'm trying to help myself.
Shoot yourself. That's what you ought to do, for heaven's sake. Tell you what you should do. You expect me to just say, oh, well, this guy went to the DA, and the DA said there was no case. This guy went to the FBI. The FBI didn't follow it up. You're probably some kind of a kook.
No. No, they had me framed on that, okay?
They had you framed?
No, yeah, right, okay.
Now this guy's been framed.
No, right. Well, it's a long story with a lot of background, okay?
Hey, listen. Hey, look, pal, if you say that somebody came in and took over your business illegally, that doesn't have to be a long story.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of about. Before I found out that it was taken over, it was first I had this embezzlement. Later on, it grew into a bigger story, and I have people that are co-conspirators wanting to become state evidence, and I have it on tape recordings. And they tell the whole story, who's involved, who's behind it also.
Who's they?
Politicians, government officials.
Now politicians and government officials are involved.
Yeah, involved, right.
Why don't you call the CIA, because... who knows? This might be an international story. I want you to call Langley, Virginia, 202-6969-696969, and I want you to ask for Officer Ray Spadavecchio. Tell him I told you to call. Good luck. Thank you.
I guess you're just kidding around, right, Bob?
Dad Slipes is our things for today. For the Bob Ben reminding you, kill Saddam Hussein. Kill him now. It's 6 o'clock.
ABC News.
And I've been asking everyone, and no one seems to know how many men are in a troop. Can you tell me?
Nobody seems to know what?
How many servicemen are in a troop?
Are in the what?
In a troop.
I don't understand what you mean by in a troop. I don't understand that.
And you know how they say in a troop?
No, there's no such category as a troop. They have armies, they have corps, they have divisions, they have platoons, they have squads. I don't know what you mean by troop. When you find out, let me know. And with that, Lauren hung up. Thank God.
Bob, first-time caller. I just wanted to call up to let you know that lady who called...
Lady? There was no lady. There was a little kid that called.
I'm sorry. the person who called a couple minutes ago about the troop.
A troop, yeah.
She was right and knew what she was talking about.
Well, what does she mean? What troop?
Well,
What is that?
I'm in the reserves, Bob. And the thing is, in the infantry, the units are broken down by company and battalion. When you talk about cavalry, a company would be equivalent to a troop. And
Well, we don't use the term troop.
Sure
We
they
don't
do.
use it. We don't use it.
I think
We use it in a generic sense. We don't use it as a unit of numbers. We don't use it as a unit
yes,
of numbers.
they do. But in the cavalry, that is true. Ask any cavalryman, he'll tell you. In the cavalry,
Yeah, well.
it's a troop. It can mean an individual.
Hey,
or it
look.
can mean a
Does it
company
make
of
does it make feel good to say that? Then you can say it. You have my permission to say it.
Yes.
I mean, what the heck? If it takes something that small to make it feel good, you go ahead and say it.
Bob, I love your show.
No. You're not telling me anything. You didn't even say how many men make up a troop.
About probably.
What do you mean about and probably? Here's a guy, folks. He's going to clarify everything. He's going to give the answer. And yet when I ask him, he says, well, about, probably.
It depends on the organization, Bob. Between 5 and
Great. Depends on the organization. Have to laugh. Dave, sure.
Yeah, it's Tom in Morganville, Bob. A troop is the same as a company in the infantry, or as a battery in the artillery, or as a flight in the Air Force. It's a subdivision of a regiment.
Okay, pal. How many men in a troop?
That's the problem. You're going to have somebody that's familiar with the cavalry tell you that and not hang up on them.
Yeah, well, I'm hanging up on you.
Alrighty.
Roger.
I don't want to beat a dead dog, but with the troop question that the young lady brought up before, the smallest military unit is a squad. That's 10 soldiers. It's commanded by a sergeant. After that, we have a platoon. That's commanded by a lieutenant. 3 platoons form a company. That's commanded by a captain. 3 to 5 companies form a battalion. That's commanded by a lieutenant colonel. 3 to 5 battalions form a regiment, and that's commanded by a colonel. And then after that, you have a brigade. 2 to 3 regiments form a brigade, and then 3 to 5 brigades form a division. And then the largest formation is 2 or more divisions form a corps, and that's commanded by a lieutenant general. So those are your Army breakdowns.
I like the ankle bone because it's attached to the knee bone. Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend, sir.
All of these frustrated generals, everybody wants to get into the act.
Hello, Bob?
Yes?
Yeah, and just in regard to that young lady who called before about troop, I don't want to add any more information.
No, I can't believe
I
it.
don't have any information to add. I just wanted to say something that you said that made me very angry and express that to you. This is a 7-year-old child who was asking you some...
How do you know she was 7?
Well, she said she was a 7th grader, excuse me.
How do you know she was 7?
I don't... She sounded like she could well have been a 7th grader. And she asked...
Wait a minute. A 7-year-old child?
Excuse me, that was a mistake. A 7th grader.
Yeah, Steve, are you related to the person? Do you know the person?
No, I'm not, but I have a 7th grader.
I see.
And it made me quite angry that you couldn't bear with her a little bit and explain what you already know about troops.
Gee, that's too bad. I'm sorry that you feel that way, Steve.
Well, I think you were very cynical, and I think that was disgraceful.
I see. Well, consider it disgraceful, Steve. What else is new?
That's about it. That's all I wanted to say.
On WABC, we're taking calls, whether they're relevant, important, unimportant, insignificant, putrid, or what have you. Paul. Hello, Paul.
Let me put it another way, Bob. If you ever talk to a 7th grader like that...
Oh, please.
You're a coward, you know that?
How does that make me a coward?
Because a grown man wouldn't speak to a child...
Oh, cut it out, will you? Cut it out.
You are the world's oldest punk.
The world's oldest punk.
Well, the ignorance you display in using your word for a condom.
Oh, you mean scumbag?
Yeah, that's pretty...
Well, that's what you are. You're a scumbag.
You are the world's oldest punk, without question.
Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend, Paul, will you? On WABC, Paul has got an exciting weekend. He's going to watch a few haircuts. Bob Grant, let's say hello to Clara. Hello, Clara.
This is Clara. First of all, I got a couple of different subjects I want to talk about with Myrtle Whitmore and this man they named Vanilla Ice. But first, I want to tell you something. The last time I spoke to you, and every time, you end up calling me a fat slug, and you hang up, and you're a coward because I can't talk back. You press that button on me, and I have nothing to say. And I never breathing up again after I speak to you, but I know why you do that. Because I intimidate you. My preacher was saying, because I intimidate you, and I hit the head on the nail. And when I tell you something, you get so mad, you land up calling me that slob. But I ain't going to get a stuff because I know that I got you. That's the first thing I want to tell you, because I don't like it. And next time you do that, I'm going to come down there. I'm going to sit on you in front of people passing by. Now, let me get to what I called about.
I'm listening. I'm not saying a word, Clara.
Lord, you were very nasty to me. You called me a big fat slob.
Because you are, but go ahead.
You see that? Well, next time I come down, I'm going to laugh out loud. I'm going to wait till a lot of people pass by and get a hold of you and sit on you in front of public.
What size dress do you wear, 24?
Listen, I'm going to get to something important. I'm not going to talk about that because you're a peanut anyhow. Let me get to Myrtle Whitmore. First of all, Myrtle Whitmore, I'm going to call her Myrtle Whitmore because she thinks she's more white than black. Number one. And I'll tell you why.
No pun intended, but you couldn't shine her shoes, Clara.
There you go again, because I'm intimidating you. I know that, but I ain't going to...
You don't intimidate me. Hey, Clara, you don't intimidate me, except when you say you're going to sit on me, because with those 380 pounds you've got of blubber and lard, you'd really squash me.
Oh, not only that, honey, but I would put my foot down your mouth on top of that.
Your foot?
That's right.
What size bra do you wear?
The same size underwear you wear.
That's a crazy answer.
I don't think you're funny. You know that? I don't think that you're being funny.
What do you have, a 72 double D?
I want to get to Myrtle Whitmore. You know this man they brought up before, Vanilla Ice?
Yes, Reverend Ike? Did you say...
Vanilla Ice. That guy is a...
Oh, Vanilla Ice.
Who is a white rap singer. And that guy was right. The black people do not want that white guy named Vanilla Ice in the black rap type of area.
Why? What are they?
For booing that guy, because we don't need a white rap singer who's trying to be black.
Well, Clara, are you prejudiced against white people?
I do not like a lot of them, especially like you. You know that?
What is there about me you don't like, Clara?
First of all, you're fishy. You call me fat all the time. And you know that I have a lot of political...
Wait a minute. Of course I call you fat. You told me over the phone one time that you weighed close to 400 pounds.
I mean, you don't look half as beautiful as I do, so I don't care how big I am, because I got my...
Well, you are a fat slob. Let's face it,
Clara. And you know what you are. You are a make-believe funny little peanut.
Well, that's probably true, but at least I will admit that...
I'm a fat slob, but how come you wear a phony headpiece like all of them say that about you?
What makes you think I wear a phony headpiece?
Everybody said that.
Everybody? No, only that guy, Jerry, who's a sick guy. You want to be sick, Clara?
I seen you on TV one night, and it didn't look like your hairline matched.
Would you like to come up here to the studio and pull it?
If I do that, honey, I'm going to sit on you in public.
You want to try that? I'll tell you what, Clara. I very, very rarely, except to punch some guy's nose down his throat,
invite
anybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, he went to the moon. Nobody is ever going to hit me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going public now. I'm inviting Clara to come down and join me here in the studio. She won't, but I invite her anyway.
Well, you may be very surprised.
All right, Clara, you know where we are, don't you?
What do you think of Myrtle Whitmore? How come you like Myrtle Whitmore so much?
Well, Myrtle Whitmore happens to be a fine woman who exemplifies all that's good in this country. She's a great American lady, a patriot.
Aunt Myrtle Tom. That's what I call her, not Uncle Tom. Myrtle.
Why is she a Tom?
You know why? Because
what makes her a... What is it?
Okay, I'm going to answer that. She said something that I didn't like. A black woman called up, and she said to her that she had problems, and she accused Myrtle of something. Myrtle said, how dare you say that to me? I always love people. Well, let me tell you something.
Well, that's true. She does love people. Myrtle is a good, caring person.
But if somebody going to poke you in the face, you ain't going to say I love them.
Well, that's true. But who said she was going to poke her in the face?
Well, Myrtle trying to say that no matter what anybody does, you've got to turn around and kiss them.
You know what I figured out about you,
Clara? And I don't like that type of talk, because when somebody hurt me, I'm not going to turn around and give them a hug.
I'll tell you what, Myrtle. Let me take you down to one of my sponsors.
My name ain't Myrtle.
Oh, excuse me. Clara, let me take you down to one of my sponsors. We'll lose about 260 pounds or so. We'll slim you down a little bit, get you a new dress. You look in the mirror, you'll see that you look much better, and you'll feel better about yourself.
You sound like you got cramps the way you talk.
Cramps?
You sound like you got bad cramps. You talk like a little old nasty woman. That's right.
Little old nasty woman?
You sound like you got cramps.
Well, Clara, Clara, next time you call, will you bring the Windex, please?
You see that? You always land up telling me. I'll tell you something. I've got me a white maid.
You got a white maid?
That's right.
Put her on the phone.
I don't have her here.
How convenient. Thank you, Clara.
I bet you got yourself... I bet you try to get yourself a very, very nice maid, and I bet that one of the maids that cleans for you is probably one of your relatives.
Clara, what I'd like you to do now is finish that box of Snickers that you've been munching on before the call, and call me in 7 days. On WABC 9.
I noticed that when people call you up and mention something that Rush Limbaugh or Jay Diamond says, you get very indignant.
No.
And
I don't get it. No, if they want to quote either one of those esteemed, extremely talented gentlemen, if they want to quote them, that's fine. But when I'm lumped in, when a guy says, yeah, Bob, and you and Rush and Jay, the two you guys, thank God I got shoes. I don't work as a werewolf. I don't work as a trio. This guy was just baiting me because he's a fink, he's a phony. By the way, for those of you who realize it, I want to commend you. And for those of you who are too ignorant and too much of a gavone to know, let me apprise you of the fact. The survey shows that only 1 to 1.5% of the total listening audience ever calls this or any other program. So do not judge the audience by the scumbags who call a program. The scumbags who call a program, for the most part, do not represent the many fine people who make up the 1,200,000 people who listen to the Bob Grant Show. And yet somebody on the line from Borough Park. Yes? Hello?
Yep. Okay, Bob Grant?
Yes?
Okay, I waited for a long time to speak to you. The thing is about Israel and the history of Israel.
You want to talk about Israel? What a surprise.
Yeah, about the history of Israel. But don't be surprised if you like to be always right. But not in this case. I want to ask you a few questions. What about Israel? Who built Israel? Jerusalem, for instance.
Who
built it?
If I answer...
The Palestinians or the Arabs?
If I answer correctly, pal,
yep.
Do I get an A or what? Are you going to grade me? What do I get if I answer? Why the quiz?
The quiz is because they don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
I didn't even discuss Jerusalem today.
Doesn't make any difference because you always say you can discuss and so on.
Yeah. Where are you from, pal?
I'm from Borough Park.
Borough Park. Born and raised in Borough Park, a native of Borough Park.
I'm very, very nervous.
Is that right? You born and raised in Borough Park? When did you leave Borough Park? When did you leave Borough Park?
You see how stupid you are? You're not supposed to bring up something else if I'm going to talk something else.
No, I don't understand why you're hostile. I don't understand
it. I'm hostile because you're changing the subject.
You were hostile before I changed it.
No,
you were hostile before I changed the subject. I don't like your approach.
Tell me who...
You want to give me a quiz? You want to give me a quiz? I'm not going to play your game, pal.
The game is like that. You don't know the history of Israel.
Really?
The problem in the Middle East is nothing to do with the Palestinians. It's got to do Arab and Jews. The Arabs doesn't want the Jewish people to go back to Israel. This is the fight. They want to destroy the Jewish nation. That's it.
Well, do tell. I know that. What are you telling me?
That. No, you don't say that.
What do you want me to say? Each and every day. What do you want? Hey, listen, pal. Hey, listen, pal. You don't dictate. Hey, look, you don't dictate to me when I say. I'll shout all I want, and if you're going to shout back, you're off. You don't dictate to me what I'm going to say, you jerk.
First of all, I wanted to comment on the Peter Jennings thing that you were talking about before.
Oh, I'm glad somebody saw it.
Well, I didn't see it because I wouldn't watch it after the other night when he showed the Kuwaiti soldiers, in Kuwait, the Iraqi soldiers that have been killed.
Yeah.
And he made it sound like we had done some kind of atrocity by killing
Peter
these
Jennings,
people.
his heart bleeds for everybody but Americans.
Did he write that stuff, or is he just a puppet for the rest of the idiots?
He has editorial control, dear.
Did you see the look of disgust on his face at what the American soldiers had done?
I mean, imagine how I feel. I work for the same company that Peter Jennings and Sam Bodybags Donaldson work for. Huh?
You're the only thing that saves that company. They're a bunch of communists.
I don't know. You know, sometimes I think I'm really stupid to do a talk show where I take phone calls like that last jerk who was just on the line. These people who accuse me of things they have no right to accuse me of. And if you don't agree with them 100% of the time, then they go crazy.
What was his point? Did he have one, or he was very hard to follow?
The guy at the other end of the line?
Yeah.
Who's on just ahead of you?
Yes.
I suppose he's angry with me because I said that there was no way there was going to be true peace in the Middle East unless you made everybody happy, which is almost impossible to do, unless you had compromise. Well, Abba Eban said that. I suppose that makes Abba Eban a big anti-Semite, huh?
Yeah, and you too, right?
Right.
Anyway, I want...
You know, there's some people you can do 1,000 things for. Then one thing you do that they don't approve of, suddenly you're no good. Well, the hell with them. Thank you, Kathy.
Bye.
Lately, I get the feeling that you're taking tips from Howard Stern. I listen to your language, using words like scumbag, bastard, son of a bitch. It's not becoming to you, Bob. We know the truth. You are a frail, freckled, toupee-wearing old man. And you look like Burgess Meredith. Goodbye.
On WABC. Government leaders sometimes pursue policies so lacking in logic, common sense, and fairness, you wonder how they ever could be proposed. How about Il Supremo himself, that sanctimonious, arrogant, pompous personage who sits astride the mall, the Rockefeller Mall in Albany, New York. He's hell-bent on trying to implement just such a nonsense policy at this moment. In a budget bill, he wants to cut many benefits for victims of violent crime while retaining intact all the state's gifts to hardened criminals. Now, if passed, Il Supremo's legislation means that an elderly woman who is mugged for her Social Security money, a young man who has his head smashed with a baseball bat, or one who suffers gunshot wounds will be denied critical medical costs and or cash reimbursement. But convicted killers, rapists, muggers, the marauders in prison will continue to receive free tuition, free medical, free dental, free stamps, free optometrist service, free stationery, and of course free cable TV. Unlike crime victims and the rest of us in the budget squeeze, criminals will not be required to share the pain. And don't forget those killers of Waverly Jones and Joseph Piagentini, two fine police officers back in 1971. Those killers every year challenge their conviction, and people wonder where do they get the legal resources to keep mounting these challenges over and over again? And of course the answer is they get those resources from you and me, the taxpayer. We even provide them with limitless, endless, interminable legal aid. You remember Diane McGrath? She ran for mayor in 1985. I'm sure you don't remember her. Nobody even knew she was running. She was a Republican candidate in 1985. She married Bill McKechnie, who at that time was the head of the Transit PBA. Well, she's one of 5 commissioners on the Crime Victims Board. She said, quote, "The Cuomo administration has been cutting us drastically for years, and this latest cut is absolutely devastating. It's the first time in 25 years that any governor has proposed cutting actual aid to victims." But you see, it's easy for Il Supremo to cut aid to victims because Il Supremo never thought about the victims. If he did, he wouldn't be constantly fighting the death penalty, would he? If he thought about victims, he'd be leading the charge to reinstate the death penalty and to use the death penalty. By the way, that same death penalty was in place in 1971 when Waverly Jones and Joseph Piagentini were murdered. And the 3 skunks, the 3 marauders, the 3 monsters who committed the murder avoided the death penalty. That death penalty was on the books, you remember, for anybody who murdered a police officer. But Il Supremo's heart bleeds for the guilty and is stone cold to the victims. WABC, we say hello to Vito. Yes, Vito.
Oh, Mr. Grant, you know who this is.
Yes, Vito.
Well, the family's been trying to get in touch with you for months now, and the phone hasn't been ringing. Have you been getting their messages?
I don't believe I have, Vito. I don't believe I have. As a matter of fact, I understand that Hugo Matsututaguanda was looking for me, and that made me very nervous to think that Mr. Matsututaguanda would be looking for me. I can't imagine why.
Well, he feels that you owe your godfather a service, and, I got this young kid here, this band leader, and he feels that the next big dance that you are preparing in the future, whenever you have one, you give a kid a shot.
Well, I tell you, the kid is going to get a shot, and it's going to be from Rudy Ashpara. That's what's going to. No, in all seriousness, Vito, I can tell you that the organizers of the Bob Grant roast, which is going to take place on September 15th at the Mayfair Farm,
heard about that.
they are going to be calling Phil Ambro.
I heard Robert De Niro was going to be there.
Who?
Robert De Niro. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if he's going to be there. I can tell you that Jay Diamond is going to be the master of ceremonies. And to show you that this is going to be big time, Rush Limbaugh is going to be one of the roasters.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And Howard Stern. I mean, we're not just going to keep it here at WABC, whatever. Howard Stern's going to be a roaster.
What's more important than Howard Stern and all these other people is this guy, Bob Grant.
Well, I'm going to be the guy that's roasted.
Well, that's important.
So all these people who wanted to tell me off are going to get a chance.
Well, goes to show you, once again, excuse me, I got something in my throat. I cut it out. It just came out. All right. Where were we? Oh, well, it goes to show you that you show respect to your godfather, and you are a great man after all.
It goes without saying, Vito. It goes without saying.
Well, you know how to get in touch with this kid and give him a break, because he really loves you and he really respects you.
Well, as they say in Red Hook, state bon.
State bon. Be a good boy.
All right, thank you, Vito.
Uh-huh.
That's the one and only Vito, who's even his vocal presence creates an aura of tension. I mean, you feel this menacing aura.
Someone might take you up on your offer. You know, someone might. Where did you train? The martial arts?
What is all this? What is this call about?
Well, you consistently threaten people over the phone.
Well, that's true. You don't have to have any training to threaten anybody. You don't have to
physically threatening.
That's right. You don't have to. You don't have to have anything. You could just threaten somebody. I might threaten you before this conversation's over. So what?
So what do you rely on? What do you count on? What are your?
What do I count on? The fact that you are a feckless, putrid non-entity. That's what I count on. The ultimate expletive deleted, followed by the second person pronoun. Nobody knows what a second person pronoun is because nobody studied grammar. Anyway,
I would like to talk about the incident described by your guest, that incident in California, in which the U.S. English people were attacked by these third world racist thugs.
Yes.
A few comments.
Yeah.
For example, one of the thugs was quoted as saying, "You're a white Caucasian intruder from Western Europe, and Spanish should be the official language." Bob, has anyone ever told this jackass that Spanish is a European language which comes from Spain, which is a country, I believe, that's located in Western Europe?
Isn't that interesting? Well, she probably wouldn't know. First of all, she probably is a person who has no Spanish blood at all. You know, most of these people are mestizos. Most of these people are well, pardon the expression, Indians. And if they happen to be Indians and they're south of the border, they become Mexicans. If they're north of the border, they're, well, now it's Native Americans. But you're a Native American, aren't you, Jim? Where were you born?
Well, I was born here, but I speak fluent Spanish.
Yeah, but then you're a Native American, see, because you were born in America. Thank you very much, Jim. Good with you. Reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. Kill Saddam Hussein. Kill him now, please.
2% that you mentioned about the callers.
Yes.
Yeah. There seems to be, when you mention that 2%, there seems to be a subtle innuendo that of this 2%, 99% are gavones.
I would say that of the callers to this program, I'm not going to comment on other programs because I don't think it's, to tell you the truth, I don't pay attention to them, but on this program, I would say 60 to 70% are out-and-out gavones.
That's a high percentage.
It is, and I'm being generous.
Yeah. And I'm glad I'm on the other percent side.
Maybe.
Yeah, speaking of that subject, I just wanted to say that the Arabs, which are commonly referred to as, quote, Palestinians, unquote, by the pro-Arab media in this country, seem to always support tyrants, such as in the 40s they supported Hitler, in the 50s they supported Stalin and communism up until the 70s and 80s, and now they support, of course, the butcher of Baghdad, Saddam Hussein. I think they should be rewarded by getting rid of the Chumitz, getting rid of the Arabs out of Israel. Kach is right, Kahane is right.
Hey, guess what?
Territories.
Guess what, Sam? Guess what?
What?
I hope your heart's in good condition.
Why?
I'm going to surprise you. You sitting down?
Yeah, I'm sitting down. Kach is right.
Guess what?
What?
You're right.
I can't believe it.
No, you're right. I've come to the conclusion the only possibility for anything that would make any peace.
Bob?
No, I've come to this conclusion.
Yes.
There is a Palestinian state. It's
true?
spelled Jordan.
Right on, brother. Expel the Arabs.
The big question is how to do it. That's the question.
Put them on the bus.
All right.
Give them a ticket.
Thank you, Sam.
Bye-bye.
Don't take Jimmy Breslin too seriously. As a matter of fact, if you do, then you miss the whole point of his being. He is writing for his newspaper to offer a little comedic relief. The man is not to be taken seriously, and as long as you realize that he is a parody, then everything is fine. The man is a buffoon. He's a joke. At one time, I think he was a pretty good writer, but he's just a parody right now. It's a travesty. So please don't take Jimmy Breslin seriously, will you?
I won't, Bob.
Okay, thank you very much.
Grant. Bob, I wanted to make a comment about that pernicious leftist Mike Farrell who exemplifies the Hollywood element. I had the misfortune of listening to Farrell on the Tom Snyder program a few weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
I've heard you make reference to Snyder as being, of that persuasion. And I reserved judgment until I heard Farrell on the program. And among other things, Farrell says we failed to humanize Saddam Hussein.
Humanize him?
Oh, Bob, it was absurd. It was something where, man cannot live by bread alone. He has to nourish his animosities. And believe me, I was well fed after listening to Mike Farrell go on about how we shouldn't have gotten involved in the Middle East. It was disgusting, Bob. And also, as far as this 21-year-old who impregnated this 11-year-old girl, who then had the audacity to throw a baby down the trash chute. Too bad they didn't push him over the ledge instead of pulling him over the ledge when he was threatening to jump.
Oh, I was so annoyed when I heard they saved him.
It was back in the 40s, I guess.
Now, back in the 40s, that doesn't tell me anything. When, pal?
And the sergeants didn't speak very nicely to us in those days.
Come on, what? Be specific.
They didn't speak.
When were you in the service, pal?
All right, 1941, 1945.
You were in from 41 to 45?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What unit were you in?
Paratroops.
It doesn't tell me anything. Were you in the 101st?
No, 458th.
Airborne?
Yeah.
Where were you?
Carolinas, Georgia.
Where'd you get sent?
Everywhere.
Everywhere?
Yeah. You want to let me speak?
Were you in the ETO, the Pacific Theater? Where were you?
We went to France and Germany.
You were in the ETO then. We must have been desperate to have taken you.
Whatever you say. You want to let me finish?
Would you take a jump without a parachute? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, a couple of guys did. They're still living. It really happened.
Yeah.
It really happened.
I believe it. Anyway, what's the point you'd like to try to make, Jack?
All right. Some of us were in there for ages. And the sergeants didn't speak very nice to us. And there was a lot of problems in those days. And you didn't get to go home in 7 months like these here, what they call yellow bellies, part-time soldiers. We never got a yellow ribbon. They never hung up a flag. So I don't see what they're crying about today. They raped the government for 40, 50 years, right? The monthly stipends.
Thank you for the call, Jack. Hope you get well. I really do.
Surprised nobody else told you that already.
Why don't you try a VA hospital? They have excellent psychiatric facilities.
I've been simmering here for the whole week concerning your stance on the Gulf, but that's your opinion. My opinion is that George Bush is doing 110% correct decision-making here based on the fact that, number one, he doesn't have a mandate for the UN. Yes, we have troops in the Gulf, but that doesn't mean that we have the right
we may have the moral right, but that is an issue that doesn't decide American lives. He doesn't have the congressional approval to go in there yet, if he does at all.
Oh, wait a minute. When you say go in there, we are there.
Iraq.
We are there. We are in Iraq. Aren't you aware of the fact that we have armored divisions in Iraq?
Sure, in a defensive position. In a defensive position, not an offensive position. The big difference.
I'm not aware that they're in a defensive position. They're there because they chased Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait and they followed him out.
That's correct.
So I don't know how that translates into defensive, offensive, or somewhere in between. They're there. So don't play games.
I'm not playing
fancy schmancy games. They're in a defensive position.
They're not in an offensive position.
Oof.
Now, as far as Saddam Hussein goes, suppose we went in and took Saddam Hussein out, as so many people are now calling for.
Well, I've called for that. I demand that. It's the only logical end to this incredible episode.
And then are we going to police the military men?
No, we're not.
Take over in his position?
No, we're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is punish his transgression. That's what we're going to do.
How are we going to do that?
By using the 1948. You like the United Nations? Okay. The United Nations in 1948 adopted the International Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. The United States signed it at once, but the Senate didn't get around to ratifying it until 1966. And that particular convention, that code signed in the United Nations, approved by the United Nations, does include the type of thing that Saddam Hussein has done. Did you know that?
That's fine. Then let the UN send in troops, not the U.S.
The UN doesn't have troops, you dummy.
They do have troops.
They do not. There's no UN army.
The thing is, and George Bush...
The thing is, you don't know what you're talking about. You're pathetic. You really are pathetic.
The thing is that George Bush knows that this is not going to be another quagmire Vietnam, and I support him 110% for that stance. And in addition to that,
get off my phone. What do you want? What do you want?
I want to express my opinion.
Okay, that's the way I look at it. The Iraqis and we went in and kicked them out. Okay, it was great. Now you're saying that we should get involved in a civil war in Iraq.
No, it isn't a civil war. We should finish the job. No, we're not involved. We were involved. The minute we took on Saddam Hussein, we became involved. Why have we let him off the hook? You know, people like you amaze me. You make it sound like there was no war. You make it sound like we didn't fight Saddam Hussein. You didn't make it sound like for over a month, for 6 weeks, our Air Force bombed him 200 sorties every day.
Now, wait a minute, okay? Got to hear it through. You got to hear the whole thing.
But you're not making sense.
Yes, you have to look at the big picture involved.
You're not making sense.
You wanted him.
You know, I have to laugh at people like you. You will defend a guy. No matter what the evidence says, you will defend him.
No. Who, Saddam Hussein?
No, I'm talking about the president.
No. I thought the president, in the beginning, in November, I thought the president should have gone in right then and there and taken care of it. But he didn't, and I thought George Bush was a wimp. Okay? Now he went in and, January, whenever this happened. Now,
January 16th.
January 6th, whatever.
16th.
I don't know the date, okay? I'm nervous talking to you on the phone.
Yeah, you're nervous.
Other things involved, okay?
Yeah, what?
Okay, listen here. Hear this out. You wanted him to get involved with,
But we were involved. We were involved, Bob. We were involved. I don't understand this guy.
Now, why would you want him to do that? That's an internal affair.
It's not internal. It's not internal.
Tiananmen Square was an internal affair.
This is different because we weren't fighting.
There's no difference.
This is different.
Of another country.
This is different. We defeated him in the field of battle. We pursued him into Iraq. We have our army there, and we're just standing there watching innocent people slaughtered in the hundreds of thousands. That's unconscionable. We didn't have an army on Chinese soil.
That it's not.
You can't compare the two.
I'm not saying that it's not, okay? I agree with you 100%. You know, we should have gone in there all the way to Baghdad.
Well, all right, then we still could. We're there. You people make it sound like we're not there. We're there. We're there. Don't you understand?
I'm looking at it like he's trying to establish something else.
Yeah, trying to establish what?
Well,
I'll tell you what he wants to do.
For a world peace.
Oh, cut it out, Bob. World peace. Hey, listen, let me ask you this very simple question.
What's that?
If he meant it when he said that he was worse than Hitler, how come he's allowing this guy to survive?
I don't know.
Thank you for the call. Thank you. He doesn't know. All right, he doesn't know. Of course he doesn't know, because it doesn't make sense. 7 minutes before... I don't know why the heck I do this. This is so dumb. I just get aggravated with idiots. Yeah, let's try Jerry right here on WABC. Jerry calling from Lakewood.
Yeah, hi, Bob. This is Acme Carpet Cleaning. You'd like to know when we could come over and steam clean your...
the guy with the obsession. Two sickos. We had bookends just now. Two talking bookends.
Yes, Bob. Last February, Bill Moyers had a program on Channel 13 called Project Censorship. They had picked out 10 stories that have been selected throughout the year from 600. And of the 10 winners, the Spotlight won two stories. Now, that is amazing.
What's amazing?
That the Spotlight, a weekly paper...
Oh, cut it out. It's a rag. It's a rag.
You haven't read that story.
It's a rag. The Spotlight is a rag put out by the Liberty Lobby. It is an anti-Semitic scandal sheet.
You haven't read that paper. What are you talking
They
about?
sent some skunk sends it to me. Thank you, skunk. Until tomorrow, until Monday, this is Bob Benjamin. Your influence counts. Use it. Kill Saddam Hussein. Kill the skunk now. Let's say hello to Solomon here at WABC. Solomon from Teaneck. Hello.
Yes, Bob. I'm watching this show, Never Forget, on television, and I was wondering why the Simon Wiesenthal Center for Holocaust Studies and the Anti-Defamation League will not discuss or debate on whether the Holocaust was a hoax or not. The new history.
By the way, what is your real name?
It's not Solomon. I just wanted to get on the show. I wanted to ask you.
Wait a minute. Stop right there.
Yes.
You gave a phony name. It's not Solomon. Why did you give the name Solomon?
Because you always take care of the Jews. You're a Jew lover. You
Yeah, you want to know something? You want to know something?
What? Tell me.
You want to know something?
Yeah,
I will take the worst Jew in the world to you any day, because
but answer my question.
You are a lousy Nazi scumbag.
Why won't they debate that issue?
Because there's nothing to debate.
There's nothing to debate.
It would be like
they'll lose. They haven't got a leg.
It would be like the Flat Earth Society saying, why won't the scientific community debate us on whether the Earth is round or not? Now, you see that skunk? He gave the name Solomon. His name isn't Solomon. How was he able to think up a name without a brain? That's the amazing thing. I would take him out and shoot him and sleep like a baby. The front page of the Daily News is absurd. You know why? It says, we're 2,181 cops safer. That's absurd. Where they graduated these police officers yesterday, it happens to be right next door to our WABC studio. And I saw the graduates. Most of them look like little broads who belong on a high school cheerleading team. And even a lot of the guys look like little pipsqueaks. Whatever happened to the good old days when to be a police officer, you had to be a man and had to be at least 5 feet 8 inches tall. Whatever happened to those sane days? While you think about that, we're going...
I called yesterday, but I couldn't get on because I ran out of time. Apparently, I called close to 6 o'clock.
Sure.
One of your listeners made a comment on the proposed nomination of
Diane
Ravitch as Assistant Secretary for Education.
Yeah, Undersecretary of Education.
Yes, and I think that her nomination would be a great one, because she is for reform of the educational process and curriculum. Then your caller made another comment about something being done to the sinks, some adulteration or.
You're going to make me very nervous. In about 10 seconds, I'm going to hang up on you.
Well,
I can't take this much longer.
My next comment was that I think that people should go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art if they want to find out what the Egyptian society was like, ancient Egyptian society was like. The Metropolitan Museum of Art has an excellent collection of artifacts hieroglyphic writing, statues, mainly artifacts from ancient Egyptian society. So I think that if your listeners want to, they should take a trip to 81st and 5th Avenue, get the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you, sir. I understand what you're saying, but of course that was just the Daily News attempt to have a eye-catching, paper-buying headline. The fact of the matter is, we are not safer, even if what you say was not true, because you should have been with me and seen the poor excuses for police officers. A far cry from what the New York Police Department was a few years ago, before they had these stupid quotas and before they said you couldn't have height requirements.
Oh, surely. I can understand that. But all this time, I mean, by way of attrition and everything else and all, that would no doubt knock this down to maybe 1,000 cops more for the interim during the last police class. What with the retirees and everything else.
Speaking of poor excuses, I was listening to an interview by Geraldine Ferraro, and the gall of this woman is absolutely unbelievable. She has jumped on this bandwagon with Nancy Reagan, and despite the fact that her husband had sticky fingers where they didn't belong, the fact that they had property on 42nd Street that nobody seemed to be aware that they were the landlords, the fact that her son was pulled in for drug dealing had nothing to do with her defeat. Her lame excuse with that sweet, sick little smile was it was Nancy Reagan that did this to me. Can you believe this?
Well, I don't. Geraldine Ferraro is totally reprehensible. She's one of the most obnoxious people ever to come along on the political scene.
True.
In a long, long time. For us to engage in any meaningful discussion of her is a waste of time because there's nothing meaningful about her.
True, but the gall of her...
Just don't bump into her chin because it will cut. I mean, here's a woman that has a chin that is a lethal weapon.
Well...
Take a look at it sometime, if your stomach can stand it. Thank you very much, Doris.
You're welcome.
Bob Grant with you on WABC. If you'd like to make contact, then it's easy. Let me tell you, it's easy. 489-WABC if you are ensconced in Flim-Flam, Florio, state of New Jersey. By the way, we're going to get rid of Flim-Flam before you know it. And if you're in the Empire State, presided over by Il Supremo himself, the contemptuous, arrogant, His Magnificence in Albany, you call 212-563-WABC.
How you doing, Mr. Grant? Good having you back.
Thank you.
When you referred to that introduction, that kind of Arabic music, as being a bizarre music in Ankara?
Yeah.
You know better than that. Ankara is in Turkey.
I know Ankara is in Turkey, but Ankara is also a place where you have that Middle Eastern flavor. I could have said Istanbul. I could have said, well, I wouldn't want to say Baghdad.
Don't.
But are we going to dwell on that?
No, but there's no Arabic flavor in Turkey. It's Turks.
I didn't mean Arabic, really. I meant Middle East.
All right.
Thank you, jerk.
The station should never have let Jay go. He was the best.
Well, with that, she hung up, okay? She made that phone call as though she had uttered a profanity. And what she hoped to achieve by saying that is beyond me. How childish. Don't do that, ladies and gentlemen. Regardless of what you have to say, don't be a hit and run, especially when you haven't said anything wrong. She was giving her opinion.
Hello, Bob. I just wanted to say that I'm calling about closing of Fort Dix. I'm a reservist myself.
Let's hope they close that and the 30 other bases so that we can cut down on this big defense budget, damn it.
Yes, Bob, but what I wanted to say is when I went there a few years ago on my reserve training, I think it's a good idea because the people that live around that Fort Dix area, especially the town of Wrightstown, they deserve it because they were picking against the military sending planes over there, and they're totally left-wingers, the whole area of Wrightstown. And it's a good idea, and they deserve it. They're typical left-wingers. Now that they're afraid of losing their businesses, their money, they want the military to stay.
Well, they're a bunch of no-good skunk hypocrites, and I'm just worried that the Democrats in Congress will sabotage this wise plan.
I don't think so. I think it's going to close, Bob. The people of Wrightstown...
You know what they got over there at Wrightstown, don't you? They got Mid-State.
I know what they got there.
No, you don't. Mid-State. Do you know what Mid-State is?
No.
See, you don't know.
No, I was thinking of Sky, Bob.
It's the prison, pal, the prison.
Oh.
On WABC, let's say hello to John. Hello, John. Are you there, John?
Hello.
I'm with you, John. Are you with me, John?
Hello?
Shall we dance? Hello!
How are you?
What's on your mind, John?
Basically, I'm pro-Israel. I'm not Jewish, but...
You're not? What are you?
Catholic.
Catholic?
Yes.
That's your nationality?
Yes.
You're Catholic on both sides?
Correct.
I see. When were you confirmed, pal?
As soon as I was born.
Yeah, well, you see, if you were really Catholic, you would know that you're not confirmed until you're about 13, 14 years old. Why are you lying? Why are you a fake and a phony saying you're Catholic when you're not?
I am a Catholic.
Yeah, you still want to insist on that, huh? All right, then let's hear the Apostles' Creed.
Okay. You had a call before.
Let me hear the Apostles' Creed to prove that you're Catholic.
Hold on.
You fake. Get off my phone, you jerk. Ron, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Grant.
All right, I said hello. You said hello. What are we going to do now? What do people want, for heaven's sake? I say hello. What do they want?
I'd love to talk to you, Bob.
Yeah, do you?
Want to talk to you about Jay Diamond, and I won't hang up. Here is a man, in my opinion, who is intelligent, entertaining, great command of the English language, and someone who is a pleasure to listen to. And if Mr. Minnelli, as you say, has been the greatest program director on WABC radio, I think he just made the greatest mistake of his career. Because from a WABC listener in the morning, I cannot listen to the two shallow people who are on there now. Mr. Diamond was indeed a gem,
well,
and I wish they'd bring him back.
You've got to remember this, Ron. Whether you listen to a program or watch something on television, it's all subjective. You may like somebody that the guy next door can't stand. You may think somebody's brilliant that somebody else thinks is stupid. It's all very subjective. It really is. You like the guy. I liked him too. But he had no background in the business. I know that's hard to believe for all his talent, but he had no track record, no background. And it was a great... to be perfectly honest, it was like a kid who'd never played minor league ball. Suddenly he's thrown in the major leagues. And I have the feeling that if he gets some seasoning in a smaller station, maybe a smaller market, does that for a while, that you'll see a real star bloom. But it's a decision that I think was made with some reluctance, but nevertheless, I think it was a decision that the management had to make. What I don't understand is why a nation would suddenly empower a bunch of bums and try to give them the dignity of being called homeless people and besmirch the electoral process, make a mockery of the electoral process by saying, as they have in New Jersey, that they have a right to vote.
That was in today's Times, yes.
You can't keep them from voting.
Yes. God, what kind of informed electorate are they going to make?
We keep hearing about things like, well, we've had a Republican president a couple of times. We have a more intelligent Supreme Court. It's not as wild-eyed and to the left as it was. And yet, these idiotic things keep happening. Of course, in the state of New Jersey, idiotic things will continue to happen as long as Flim-Flam Florio is the governor and Robert Wilentz has his bunch of skunks called the state Supreme Court. Tony checking in right now. Hello, Tony.
Hello, Bob. Tony from Brooklyn here.
Yes.
Bob, I agree with you that a sit-down between Arabs and Jews would probably be productive, if not in substance, then certainly in spirit. But I want to say this in defense of Israel. Since the state of Israel was formed in 1948, the Arabs have terrorized the Israelis at every opportunity. They've shot them, they've stabbed them, they've bombed them, and God knows what else they've done. So frankly, I really don't get excited when the Israelis fight back, when they get trigger happy, when they get just plain fed up with some of these savages surrounding them, and I don't blame them one bit. After all, Israel won 4 or 5 wars, but Israel cannot afford to lose one war. If they lose one war, they are finished. I say let them handle their own destiny. I'm sure they know exactly what to do in their own interest. They have smart, pragmatic leaders. And I wish that some of our leaders were
I'm not so sure they're pragmatic. The pragmatists are found in the Labor Party, but you don't know much about Israeli politics if you say they have pragmatic leaders. One of the big criticisms of the Shamir government is they're not pragmatic. They have held to a hard and fast line. They've held to it consistently. They haven't changed. They will not talk with Palestinians unless they can select in advance the Palestinians they want to talk to. It's very difficult for one side to say, okay, you can pick our team and you can choose our lineup, and then we'll sit down with you. It's very difficult.
You know, though, Bob, if you look on the map...
But you know, Tony, you see, what you're betraying here is you have a hardline posture, no matter what it is. You've been wanting us to drop bombs on the Kremlin. Every time I turn around, the rare times you call, you just say, I don't know if you're a violent person by nature or what, but you seem to like violence.
I never said to drop bombs on the Kremlin.
No?
What are you talking about?
Oh, okay.
I never said that.
Well,
I said we should take a stance with the Kremlin.
Everything is a stance.
Well,
everything is a stance.
Everything is a stance.
Yeah, you call people savages. Are they all savages over there, those
Most of them are, yes. You can
Really?
see what happened in this last war. They are savages.
Most of the Palestinians living in...
You're damn right. Yes, the hell they are. That's right.
I see. I didn't know you were on any of those trips I took to Israel. I didn't see you there, Tony. Were you on my right side or my left side? Were you standing in back of me or in front of me?
You're very clever, but you know...
No, I'm not clever at all. It's just when a gavone shoots off his mouth, he makes a fool of himself.
Then you shouldn't talk, because you're a first-class gavone yourself. You're so dumb, it's pathetic, you know?
Really,
yeah,
Tony?
Get off the phone.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm hanging up.
Oh, where did you get that line, Tony? If Tony ever clears up his adenoids, he can call again. In the meantime, it's 16 minutes before 6 o'clock.
Ironically, you know, as a former student and employee of CUNY system, I find that the students protesting, you know, the so-called poor students are the ones that are not going to be affected by the cuts to begin with. Because no matter what happens, the poor students are still going to get financial aid. It's the middle-class students who are going to get cut.
And did you notice the scum that has been doing all the agitating, all the demonstrating, all the picketing? Did you notice?
Which particular scum?
Well, on the various campuses.
I know, but I don't want to...
That left-wing anti-American movie director, Oliver Stone, is now making a movie, JFK in Dallas. And you can be sure that the villain will not be a commie like Lee Harvey Oswald, but some conservative pro-American.
Absolutely. I could see the distortions now.
Right. Also, Ralph Ney is that pockmarked phony who put down Bork. And the lefties who love affirmative action have an unlikely ally, or flunky, I should say, in Robert Allen, who's the chairman of AT&T. They want another quota program under the guise of civil rights. And Rudy Giuliani, I think, would be foolish to run for mayor again. He should set his sights on the governorship. At least the state can be rescued, despite Il Supremo. But when Dinkins gets through with the city, nothing will be able to help it. That's all I have to say, Bob. The best deal.
You're right on target. I thank you for the call.
Thank you.
Calling from Queens, yes, Biff?
Hi, Bob. Nice to have you back. I'd like to say this. The Jordanian government has no claim, legal or otherwise, on the West Bank. And all other Arab states have no legal claim to the West Bank either. Therefore, the problem seems to me is what do you do with the indigenous Palestinians in the West Bank? That's the problem in a nutshell. Would you agree or disagree?
Well, I think the key word is indigenous. These people were living there prior to June 1967. They are not people who came in after the fact. They're people who were there.
Do you think they should be made citizens of Israel and given that option? Or they have the Israelis, in a sense, what I'm saying is no other Arab state has any legal claim to the West Bank. So therefore, they should butt out, and the Israelis just have to deal with the people that are indigenous to that land.
Yeah, well, that's true, and in final analysis, that's what they do. I mean, the Syrians or any other Arab peoples only use the Palestinians for their own political advantage. They don't really care about the Palestinians. They couldn't care less about them.
Right. Can I add one more thing, Bob? I believe, prediction, Jimmy Carter's going to run in 92. All right,
oh, dear, the He's got a sickness there. He likes teeth.
Bob.
Yes.
Listen, Bob, I don't understand why most of the people in the audience don't realize that Hugh Downs' children are married to Arabs. He appeared on his program several weeks ago with his young grandson, whose name is Saddam Hassan. That's why his recent agenda is so clear. But look, no more than you want to see the Asianing and the blackening of America, I don't want to see the Arabesquing of Israel. Thank you.
Well, if you don't want it, I never heard of that word. With that, she hung up. She was afraid I might respond to her stupidity, but it's not worthy of a response. George, you're on WABC. Hello.
Oh, Mr. Grant, thank you for calling.
Thank you for calling? Yes. I'm glad I got you at home. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to thank you for replaying the tape of Hugh Downs. And as a listener, I would like to say I agree fully with what he said. One of the things, Bob, that we have been listening to, reading, and watching on TV for 40-some-odd years is the plight of the Jews. But nobody has ever said, why? Why are they always picking on me? And I think if your readers could once go to the library and get a book called The International Jew, which was written by Henry Ford in 1923.
Which is one of the most scurrilous, one of the most ugly, one of the most hateful, one of the most incredibly repulsive anti-Semitic tracts, one of the most bigoted things ever written. And although Henry Ford was a great innovator and created the assembly line, I'm afraid a lot of us will remember him for what he also was, which was one of the most pernicious Jew haters of all time. And for you to suggest that people go and read that, you might just as well suggest they go read Mein Kampf, you Nazi jerk, on WABC 6 minutes before 6. John, now we go to Juan of New Jersey. Yes, Juan.
Yes, Bob. How are you? You know, I hope you don't hang up on me because you always.
I probably will. I probably will hang up on you because usually people who start off saying, "I hope you don't hang up on me," do everything in their power to make sure I will.
Well, I'm Spanish, and I have a Spanish accent, and that's why you hang up on me first. I want to refer to all those people that they talk about discrimination. I came to this country already with a profession. You know, but I have seen when people discriminate against me because of the way I look. I don't put up with that. First of all, because I have my own business, so professionally and financially, I'm well off, so I don't have to put up with it. But I can see what happened to some of the employees that work with me, that they were born in this country, and they look Spanish. And
by the way, where are you from, Juan?
From Chile. From Chile in South America.
Well, why do you keep saying you're Spanish, then? Why do you keep saying that?
Well, because people think that I'm Spanish is because I speak Spanish. I always claimed to be Chilean, but in this country I was called Spanish. So what, I'm going to go against the people?
You sure you're from Cuba, Juan?
From Chile. I didn't say Cuba. Chile.
Where'd you say you were from?
Chile. You know, Argentina, Chile.
All right.
Pinochet.
When did you get into my country?
In 1978.
1978.
With no money in my pocket.
Okay. How did you get in?
Oh, just...
I'll tell you how you got in. You got in because we revised the Immigration Act in 1965, giving guys like you preference over Europeans. That's how you got in.
No.
So you call with a chip. You call with a chip on your shoulder. Why do you call with a chip on your shoulder?
Why
do you chip on your Bob, you probably would hang up on me.
Because you did.
Why would I hang up on you?
I called twice before and you told me that I had a funny accent and you hung up on me.
Yeah, well, you do have a funny accent, but that isn't why I hung up on you. I hung up on you because you're saying dumb things.
The one thing I don't like about it, if America gets in the war, go all the way. Don't just go and stop in the middle and leave the mess that they have in Iraq right now. And that's what I was talking about. And you claim that I have a funny accent, you hang up on me.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do it again. Goodbye. Let's say hello to Rich, who's calling right now, I think. Hello, Rich. Bob Grant here. Hello, Rich. On WABC, we're forging ahead, and this is...
Yeah, Bob, I'll try to make this as concise as possible. Yesterday, when Giuliani was substituting for you, Larry King was the guest, and a caller called up, and the caller was mad over the fact that there's a little controversy that they want to change the name of the Custer Battlefield. They want to change the name to accommodate the Indian groups of today. And Larry King just double-talked this caller into the ground. Larry King compared Custer to an Iraqi general who was doing a mission against the Kurds. So therefore, Custer did not deserve a battlefield named after him. Now, with that logic, I guess Larry King, therefore, was portraying portraying our great country in the 1870s as Iraq and and President Grant as Saddam Hussein, with Larry King's logic in that order. Whether Larry King liked it, Custer was a hero in this country in 1876, despite what people are trying to do to him today. He was a Civil War hero. He was a West Point graduate. He received the surrender table at Appomattox with a note from General Sheridan saying there is no one person more responsible for this happy outcome than you. He was a major part of the Battle of Gettysburg, and the reason Custer was given the name of the battlefield there was because he was an American hero at the time. And Larry King just kept telling this caller that these Indians were American too, weren't they? They were American too, weren't they? Now, Larry King wanted to get, it seems like they want to give a carte blanche to these quote-unquote, Native Americans who were here first, because they were here first. I'd just like to know what state does Larry King and the present day, what do they want to, what state do they want to give back to the Indians as a reservation right now? I don't understand what their logic is today. Just because they were here first, we should all feel totally guilty about what happened.
In no way does the fact that certain indigenous peoples were here at the time the Republic was founded and developed, in no way does that diminish the greatness of this nation. A nation that is so great that it has made a compulsive gambler, a womanizer, a bum, a multi-millionaire because he's got a television program and a radio program.
Right.
A nation that is so great, you can be a political moron, not have any intellect worth a dime, and become a multi-millionaire just because you happen to be in the right place at the right time, and because you are such a political moron, you never say anything to offend the liberal establishment. Indeed, what you do is support the liberal establishment because you're part of it. Larry King is a political moron who is a disgrace to this business. And I say that because I see him. He has all these incredible guests, and time and time again, with very few exceptions, I say to myself, good Lord, what is that man doing there? How did he get there? Thank you for the call.
Okay, Bob.
I was just doing a Larry King imitation. Inspector General charged at the governor's flagship agency for promoting racial peace. The Martin King Jr. Institute for Nonviolence was rife with mismanagement. Are you listening? The government sleuth said the institute had used taxpayer money for extravagant trips, high-priced consultants, and expensive parties. Late last year, when Il Supremo in the legislature ordered state workers to give up a week's pay to help with the state's fiscal woes, the legislature made the system optional for legislators. A third of the 211 legislators declined the option, including State Senate Majority Leader Ralph Marino and Assembly Speaker Mel Miller, who the last time I looked was under indictment. Whatever happened? There's also the matter of New York City's fiscal problems. Aides to the joke in lieu of a mayor say the city is facing a potential deficit of $465 million for the city fiscal year that ends June 30th. Should the city end its fiscal year with a deficit of more than $100 million, the state's Financial Control Board must take over. The board was created in the wake of the city's 1975 fiscal crisis to do just that. A board takeover of the city's finances would mean that much of this joke's power would pass to Il Supremo. Il Supremo is chairman of the control board and appoints 3 of the board's other 7 members. In recent weeks, his arrogance in Albany has insisted he would do everything he could to help the city avoid a takeover by the control board. He even said he was sure the city could avert a takeover, although he winked when he said it. Then last week, El Supremo announced that he was considering a move to change the rules for a control board takeover. Maybe the $100 million trigger could be raised to $300 million or thereabouts. That's what he suggested. The immediate result was that investors began selling off city bonds. Bond traders attributed the sell-off to new uneasiness over the city's fiscal future, prompted by Il Supremo's statements. Well, his arrogance quickly backed off the plan. In recent days, the situation has resulted in news stories in which unidentified Dinkins and Cuomo aides have traded charges. On Monday, the New York Times reported that Dinkins' aides were questioning the governor's sincerity about wanting to help the mayor avoid a state-controlled board takeover. On Tuesday, the New York Post quoted one of Il Supremo's closest advisors as saying the incompetence of the Dinkins administration in its mismanagement of the city and its labor relations is abundantly clear. Asked about the sniping, his arrogance, the magnificent one in Albany, said relations between he and the mayor were just peachy keen. In addition to all that, there's a state budget. A state budget, to be accurate, there is no state budget. For the 7th year in a row, Il Supremo and the legislature have been unable to produce a state budget in time for the April 1 start of the state fiscal year. That means that some local governments and school districts must borrow to meet expenses because without a budget, the state can't make aid payments. Now let's get to this bit about this ripoff, the so-called Martin King Institute. I have in my possession, and I want to thank the Inspector General's office for sending it to me, a complete report on all the fraud that has gone on, the carelessness, the corruption, all the damning evidence of what this so-called Martin King Institute has been up to. It has been recommended that because of all the waste of taxpayer dollars, the Martin King Institute no longer be funded with taxpayer money. Do you know what Il Supremo said? Il Supremo said, well, just because the governor of the state legislature don't do a good job, you don't say get rid of the governor of the state legislature. He said the Martin King Institute must stay in the budget, continuing his long career of ass-kissing of the type of community that the Harry Belafontes represent. I don't know what else to call it. That's what it is. I'm sorry, folks. It's a bit crude, but I'm talking about Il Supremo. Now, he insists that the Institute stay in the budget. He says, you get a load of his arrogance. It's an idea I'm not going to give up on. The New York Times, and you could never call the Times a conservative publication. The New York Times says, the governor's loyalty is misplaced. The Institute, a political response to racial unrest 3 years ago, has not only squandered taxpayer dollars, but has accomplished little of note or substance. The money the Institute receives could be diverted in various useful ways. In dollar terms, however, it approximates the amount the threatened homeless program needs to continue its mission. The program aims to put homeless men and women in single-room occupancy housing. Those who would benefit are in many cases drug addicted or mentally ill and live in large shelters. The city says that if it doesn't get the missing $1 million, some of the 1,500 SROs will remain vacant or will open without adequate staff and security, a sure prescription for failure. Quoting the Times, it says the city and the state have already spent at least $60 million rehabilitating those 1,450 rooms. To put off using them now because of a modest $1 million shortfall makes no sense. Opening them with money earmarked for the King Institute would be fully consistent with Dr. King's noble legacy. Those are the Times' words, not mine. He didn't leave any noble legacy at all, because he was a fake, a phony, a fraud. But anyway, I just want you to know that Il Supremo has not changed one bit. He is so clever, it's frightening. On the one hand, he will make a speech making you think he's leaning one way, but don't you believe it. He's still leaning that way. That's right, the wrong way.
Not allow that
bum who said he was from Whitestone sully the names of the good residents of Whitestone. It's Bob Grant Country wall to wall. Please take that into consideration. Also, do you realize that many of us know that you are a member of Mensa, that is located in Brooklyn, and also you are a member of NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association? Would you like to explain to the people what that is and why you love young boys?
You got to be sick to do this, Charlie. You got to be real sick, Charlie, real sick. Ed, you're at WABC. Hello.
Yeah.
Ed, are you there?
Roberto Giganti, bring me the head of Roberto.
We got two. See, they come in pairs. It's interesting how we get the sickies in pairs. Actually, it isn't a case of two different people. It's a case of a creature with two heads.
It's really not that you're the masochist, but that you're the sadist and we're the masochist. And my theory was that you start the program off with the subliminal message, let's be hurt. Do you remember that?
I remember your call.
Okay. And then I said you end the program sadistically by slamming the lid on things.
Yes, I recall.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I have two more points to prove, two more items here to prove my point. You also refer to your radio, your hours, as rounds. Now, where else do you meet a round except maybe in a boxing match? So you refer subliminally to what's going on as some kind of a big slugfest. Point number one. Point number two, you address the listeners as, look who's checking in now. I can think of an image of the Roach Motel like they check in and they don't check out. So you're referring to us subliminally as if we're vermin and cockroaches. And this is my two additional points to my theory.
All I can say is I commend you for an overactive imagination.
Bob, I'm dying for you to hang up on me.
All right, not only that, I'll give you a preliminary, okay?
Master, please.
Get off the phone, you creep.
Thank you.
Just to answer just the following question. Have you ever been in the military?
What has that got to do with what we're going to talk about?
Well, what we have to talk about is this, is that you are enthroning yourself on a 50,000-watt sound system. And
it's not a sound system, it's a radio station, pal.
It's a radio
bigger
station.
than a sound system. What's your point?
Well, my point is this, and I, again, have answered the question. Have you ever been in the military?
What has this got to do with where we're going with this question?
Well, because you sound off constantly on issues that I never find any background on your part.
I don't know what that means.
Where are you speaking from?
I'm speaking from Atlantic City, from
I meant
shops at Ocean One.
Do you have any military experience?
Have you?
Yes, I do.
Well, tell me, General, what would you like to tell us about? I don't know what military experience has got to do with it. What does this have to do?
I asked you a question.
I'll tell you what, pal.
Excuse me, I asked you a question.
This
and I
has
did not call to be shouted down.
Oh, really? You're not going to be shouted down. You're just off.
Okay,
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you about your opening remarks today. And I'm glad there's someone around who has the guts to tackle what I believe to be, among other things, the most vile, tenacious, sneaky group in this country, the gay community. And I say that for a number of reasons, Bob. You know, they're constantly on the make, looking for new recruits because in their heart of hearts, they know that they're not normal, but they also know that in numbers, there's the appearance of legitimacy. And secondly, the sneaky attempt to align themselves with the civil rights movement is an attempt to gather in allies who they know also hate the system. And of course, the inevitable attempt, Bob, to make normalcy look sick by applying a name, in this case, homophobic, to those who dare to be revolted by the most natural thing in the world to be revolted by. And then there's the other sneaky attempt, Bob, to spread the blame for AIDS by constantly pronouncing it's not a gay disease, everyone is at risk. Yeah, they are now, thanks to a lot of those who go both ways and spread it among unsuspecting women who then spread it among the heterosexual community. No, Bob, you know, you can have as many brainwashing parades down the Lavender Line as you want. Being gay is as normal as being Republican in New York. Thank you.
There's a guy imitating Frank, and not doing a very good job of it, but Frank is successful because he has imitators. You don't imitate failures, do you? Oh, yeah. Well, there was somebody who imitated Jimmy Carter, come to think about it.
Some very sad, twisted people who like to look down on homosexuals and AIDS.
It isn't a question of looking down on them. It's a question of not being intimidated by them, and a question of not being so intimidated that you don't tell it like it is. And like it is you practice a perversion, and you're being punished for it.
That's a bunch of crap.
It is not.
Behavior is common.
It is not. You limp-wristed little creep. You stupid creep. How do you like that? You think you intimidate me? You jerk. Thank you, John. That slams the lid on things for today. There'll be an Oakland A's ball game tomorrow. Until Friday, Bob Grant reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. Kill that skunk Saddam Hussein already, will you? 6 o'clock.
Hello, Bob. Bob, you know, I've been watching about Al D'Amato, and I think it's really a joke that the media has this bias against him. And I would like to know if they are going to treat the candidates that are envious of his position the same way. Let's say like little Bobby Abrams, that putrid tush kisser of Tawana Brawley, and Al Sharpton, who sold himself down the river because he thought that would get political mileage. I wonder if the media is going to have an expose on the double standard that he used. And let's not forget the Chin's family, the son, the chemist. Geraldine Ferraro's son, he wasn't accused of using drugs. He was accused of selling drugs. And her husband, he's just an out-and-out thief. And, you know, when you look at Al D'Amato, you look at, if you want to stand on a record, I think Al D'Amato has a very, very proud record to stand on as a United States Senator. He has done a lot for the people of New York. He has done a lot for the United States of America, standing as a lone voice during the beginning of the Persian Gulf crisis. And if they really want a whipping boy, why don't they look at that other lush that we have as a United States Senator, Daniel Patrick? I never liked him to begin with. And a bar stool, there is not a bar stool probably around that doesn't have his name on it. That's where the people of New York should concentrate their efforts. The Senate Ethics Committee is looking into Al D'Amato, and he will be exonerated. On the other hand, the other people running for that office have baggage and mileage that cannot escape the public's view if it's exposed and shown in its proper light.
Hi, Bob. I happened to be listening to you on my way home from school, and I wanted to add a little something about your fury about the distribution of condoms in New York City. I recently saw some of the promotion material to be used in reference to handing them out. They've wasted our money and made buttons with a big red heart on it saying condoms mean caring.
Ah, dear me. Sickening. Condoms mean caring.
Well, please. You ready for this? The phrase that they're going to be using on the package is condom up for safety. I mean, it's really so disgraceful.
I mean, you know, the day's fast approaching that they will say, all right, will all the boys stand up, please, drop your pants. Every boy put on the condom, that's it.
Oh, you have to see the directions enclosed in this package. I mean, it is just awful.
Bob, be a sweetheart deal so that they can buy $2.95 and put a toll on that. What do you think?
Oh, listen, the tolls are the way, they love tolls. And the Flim-Flam man, that skunk that rammed down a $2.8 billion heist on us, and has snuck in a lot of other increases, sees this as a golden opportunity. He wants to take your tax dollars, and he wants the $400 million that he would get from the New Jersey Turnpike for that stretch of I-95.
You once mentioned that Howard Stern was going to be at your roast. Is that true?
Well, I certainly hope it's true.
You know, Bob, he's a funny guy. I like his show. And I always knew that he had patterned himself after you, even though my friends won't admit it. But I heard Howard admit it on his show, or it was his mother that admitted it. And I think you ought to have him on your show, and I think he'd do great for your ratings, Bob. You got it.
Well, thank heavens I don't need him on my show for my ratings, but he is going to be at the roast. I'd also like his mother and father to be at the roast as well.
I think you broke Jay Diamond's heart when you did his show, Bob. I really did.
Jay was with me, by the way, when I did the show, but Jay was not on the show. Well, thank you very much. I like guys like Dave. They're real nice guys. Nothing sneaky about them at all.
Situation in, I think, the South somewhere, where a school golf team was to play at a country club, and one of the students was a colored guy, and they wouldn't let him play. But guess who appears out of the woodwork to use it as a public speaking platform? Just guess.
Probably Jerkson.
How did you guess? There he was, just using it, for himself as always.
Right you are. I appreciate your call, Fred. Thank you. Fred calling home. Until Monday, Bob Fred reminding you your influence counts. Use it. Kill Saddam Hussein, that no-good skunk.
How angry you get after 5:30. That's why I say at the pub.
Me angry?
You blow your stack. You can't wait for the opportunity to tell someone off.
No, you're right. I did get angry. I remember. It was March 8th, 1973. I was very angry.
That's a daily basis, Bob. That's a daily basis. You don't have to do that with your show. You don't have to do that.
I don't get angry because I have to. I get angry because gavones make me angry. Speaking of gavones, Mary, I appreciate you calling.
Well, it was nice talking to you, Bob. I'm so glad you didn't hang up on me.